All right, look, I know you've called some friends, heard about the military base, and heard about the low cost of living of Lawton. And at first glance, look, Lawton really seems like an easy place to navigate the metro, right? But here's the deal. Most people move out to the city with no clue of the surroundings or what they should really expect living in Lawton Fort Sill. I mean, from a bird's eye view or a pamphlet, it looks really simple. I mean, sure, you can pull up Zillow and see a home or Google the neighborhoods and see the new homes at prices that you can't believe you're getting that much home for out here, right? But the next thing you know, you're driving to work longer than what you really want, or even worse, in a neighborhood that doesn't necessarily fit your lifestyle. Most people expect a small, quiet army town with a few chain restaurants and nothing really to do here and nowhere to go. You know, it's almost like they expect to just survive here, ride out their time at the duty station, save some money, and then move on. But here's what they don't see coming. Lawton is surrounded by mountains, lakes, and really built on community. First off, it's a military town, yeah, but it's also a place where cost of living is low, traffic is light, brand new homes are available, so you could build something out here if you have a plan. You don't have to fight for space or overpay to breathe. You've got enough margin to own land, build equity, and still have money left over for some dinner, some fun, and even play your hand at a blackjack. Because yes, there are casinos here. And if you play your cards right, you just might leave with more money than what you came in. But if you don't know where to live before you get here, that's where a lot of people go wrong. Next thing you know, if you're military, you're stacking your BAH, thinking you're doing good, but living in a neighborhood that doesn't necessarily fit your lifestyle or your needs or even your long-term goals. So sure, you're saving money, but at what cost? You wake up one day and just realize you're existing in Lawton, not really living. That's why I made this video. Not to make you believe that the city is something that it's not, because the truth is, Lawton Fort Sill really does have its own pace. So I made this video to give you a real blueprint, a playbook, if you will, for understanding the town you're stepping into before you even start packing. Where to live, what areas to consider, the truth about the lifestyle, layout, commute, and cost, some of the traps to avoid, and the opportunities that many people overlook. Listen, this isn't just some pretty pictures or some outdated website info passed around or in a Facebook group. This is the real deal. This is the kind of guide I wish every person saw, whether you're buying, building, investing, or PCSing to the Lawton Fort Sill Metro. So let's get to it. All right, so what's it really like living in Lawton Fort Sill? I mean, it has its own pace. Yes, you're gonna pull up Zillow and see some prices, you're gonna Google some neighborhoods, but you won't feel the heartbeat of the place until you actually live it. Lawton Fort Sill has its own rhythm. So let's talk about the metro. Now, Google Maps is going to show you where some buildings are, but it won't really explain what it's like to really live here day to day. Lawton isn't busy like California or Las Vegas. It's not as expensive as California, and it's not as spread out as Texas. It's not even trying to be like its big brother up the road, Oklahoma City. Lawton really does move at its own beat. Whether you're walking downtown for breakfast with a friend or a business meeting, or just cruising through some neighborhood new construction homes throughout the day, you'll quickly realize the city doesn't really rush you. You're not fighting traffic, and you're not competing with everybody that you meet. You know, the hills and the mountain views overlooking the city really kind of slow things down in the best way. And the people here, they match that energy. It's a collaborative, tight-knit kind of town. The kind of place where you can open up a door for a stranger and they say, hey, how you doing, and how's your day going? And they're not just doing this out of politeness, you know, that's really out of habit. And here's the thing, moving here just isn't about the home that you purchase. It really is about adopting the Lawton way of life. Your mornings, as the sun comes up, people are heading out, some in some boots, some uniforms, headed to the base. Some are going to be in some scrubs off to one of the local medical facilities or businesses, while some are turning the lights on, setting up shop for their business. Others are going to be hanging around the house, getting set up for some of those Zoom meetings. But as soon as you step outside, everyone's looking north at the Wichita Mountains. You know, you might step outside, grab a coffee from Meridian right off of Cash Road, headed to work or to your workout. You know, your neighbor could easily be an Army major, some welder, or some digital nomad with that online business, or that one retired vet who's going to be grilling all year round. But don't be surprised if you see that school teacher that's been coaching the same little league for the last 10 years. And when we're talking about the evenings, that's when the city really starts to slow down, but it doesn't stop life. You might find yourself at one of the local bars watching a game, or into one of the casinos betting a few bucks over at Apache Casino. Now, for my fit people, you could be in the local gym trying to get that summer body right, and if that's not your thing and you'd rather just clear your head than break a sweat, you're walking over to one of the neighborhood trails, taking a lap through Elman Thomas Park, or just driving 15 minutes down the road to Medicine Park to leave the workday behind. To do something like hiking, boating, walking trails around Mount Scott, because it's not just a view, it really is an escape. Out there, the city noise really does kind of just disappear, and it's just you in that open air space, and it's kind of that place that just helps you reset. So whether you're looking to find community and build relationships, or you just want to get away from it all, reset, and enjoy some quiet time, Lawton's really going to give you both. Now, if you want more home for your dollar, a little bit of space to breathe, and a slower pace of life in a city where cost of living isn't the first thing you feel and stress about every day, Lawton's got some suburbs for that too. Some are going to be some brand new homes, and some are going to be kind of rooted in that history and generational homes. But let me be clear, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Lawton isn't trying to be like Dallas or OKC or Austin. It's a city that becomes what you make of it. It's not just military transplants moving here anymore. You're gonna find some local business owners that have moved here as well, and you're gonna find some people that kind of just want to get away from that. You know, investors are buying up rental properties and building portfolios, people who have left coming back home to be closer to family, reset and rebuild. And like I said before, there are some entrepreneurs here too. You know, Lawton really is an opportunity area, whether the opportunity for you is to buy your first home, launch a business, or invest in real estate, or just finally build something affordable in a city that still has room to grow. The city has the possibilities for you here. So let me break this down for you. The city is going to reward the people who come out here with a plan. But if you come out here just winging it, you could end up in a neighborhood that's affordable, sure, but the house is older than what you're used to, or the lifestyle just doesn't fit you or your family. Or worse, you could end up moving into a new home only to realize that you're commuting 25 minutes across town every day in a city that it really isn't even necessary because of how compact Lawton is. And that's why working with the right people on the ground matters. You know, somebody who really knows the layout, knows the city and the back roads, and how to match your lifestyle to the right location. So look, if you're serious about relocating to the Lawton Fort Sill Metro, whether you're buying, investing, or PCSing, or you just want somebody to help break down you and your situation, you know, feel free to reach out. My team and I are here to help you guide you through the process with not only just the neighborhoods, but the heartbeat of the city, and find the right move for you. So if you got questions and you're really ready to plan and make that move, or you just need a clear starting point, you'll find my contact information in the description below and pinned to the top of the chat. Listen, we've been making videos helping families just like you make the move, so feel free to reach out. So yeah, that's what it feels like day to day here. But what about the activities, the food, the social scene, the kind of things that make you say, okay, I think I could live out here in Lawton. So let's switch gears and talk about Lawton, OKC, and Texas and what they have to offer you for the weekends. And first, let's start with the food, because no matter how you spend your Saturdays, everybody's got to eat, right? So we're going to talk about Lawton, OKC, and DFW because you are in the middle of two major cities. Lawton is only about 50 minutes away from Oklahoma City and about 3 hours from DFW. So let's start with Lawton's food scene first. Now, when you know the right spots, you're going to find out that Lawton does have local flavor with culture and community. You know, Lawton's food scene is pretty diverse. You got a lot of local owned spots serving up everything from soul food to Korean to Mediterranean, some Thai and some Jamaican food spots, but also the classic Southern comfort. You know, places like Fire with that brick oven pizza, or maybe you want some of that Thai food at Thai Bistro, some of the hibachi grills as well, and even some Indian food as well with the Indian taco place right off of Gore. It's gonna give you some of those options that you're looking for. But the Silver Spoon downtown is really gonna give you more of that upscale date night type of vibe. But if you're craving something spicy and local, Los Tres Amigos is a local staple out here in the metro, and they have pretty good margaritas from what I heard. So if you ever wanna just meet some people and just hang out, you might wanna check out Los Tres Amigos as well. But if you really wanna escape with a great meal, head over to Medicine Park. It's got this laid back, artsy vibe right on the water. You know, you can grab a bite to eat at the Plantation or the Riverside Cafe, or just walk the trail and hit the little shops afterwards. It's really one of those calm mini vacations without ever really leaving the area. Now, if you're up for a quick drive to OKC, you're stepping into a whole different level of culinary variety, right? OKC is packed with food districts that each carry their own vibe. You know, you're gonna have the Paseo District, the Plaza District, Midtown, and Automobile Alley. And these are just a few of the districts out there in Oklahoma City, all within a few blocks of each other. And you can do a brunch rooftop cocktail, enjoy a steakhouse dinner, or some international eats all in the same day. And if you're a foodie who really likes trying out new things, I want you to go look at the OKC food tours. They'll take you on a curated tastings throughout the city, most of the iconic restaurants, some hidden gems, and some brand new restaurants, each within the district. So whether you want to craft up some cocktails, some tapas, or some gourmet burgers, or even some Vietnamese pho, OKC is really going to have you covered. Now, Dallas-Fort Worth, which is about 3 hours south, this is a culinary powerhouse, right? If you're really trying to eat big and get away from Oklahoma, just making that 3-hour drive, that means 1 tank of gas. You're gonna be sitting at a table at one of the country's top food cities. It really is a weekend food trip that people fly into DFW to experience, and you're close enough to drive to it. So whether you're in the mood for small town comfort food, some urban variety, or some big city indulgence, living in Lawton is gonna give you access to it all. You're gonna have that local flavor. You've got the Oklahoma creativity, some award-winning chefs, not only in Oklahoma Oklahoma City, but also in Texas, which is just down the road. All right, we've covered the food. Now let's dive into the weekends. Weekends here just aren't about relaxation, but it's also about connecting some culture and community if you know where to look. The city of Lawton is going to be putting on a few festivals around the year and some community entertainment that really kind of bring the city together and help people meet each other. From the Arts for All festival, celebrating local artists, to the International Festival, really showcasing diverse cultures, or to some of the festivals outside of the city, you're going to have some opportunities there. You know, a lot of the opportunities also happen at Elmer Thomas Park. This is really like the main area of Lawton where a lot of the events come together at. So you might see some live music, some food trucks nearby, and even during some of the big holidays, they have events out here as well. So make sure that you ask the locals, where's the next event going to be at? Now for Oklahoma City, this is really where you're going to get your sports, your entertainment, and just a little bit of everything for you. Just a short drive up I-44. Oklahoma City is really going to give you like that dynamic weekend experience. You know, you can catch the Oklahoma Thunder in a game at the Paycom Center, and they're doing pretty well this year, so you might even see them in the finals. Or you can even go to one of the live concerts with some of the world's top artists and creators really just making their way through Oklahoma City as they go through the tour. Now for some of my college fanatics, you really got OU and OSU. OU is going to be right in Norman, which is about 50 minutes away. So you can go catch an OU game anytime and really just see what the college football scene is like in Oklahoma. That's where the city really comes alive. Now for a more laid back vibe, you might want to go explore Bricktown. You know, this is Oklahoma City's entertainment district. They have many districts inside this district as well, but you can enjoy something like the Canal, attend a live show at the Bricktown Comedy Club, or even just take in a game at the Chickshaw Bricktown Ballpark, some live music and some art festivals to really just kind of ensure that you're having a really good weekend. Now for the culture events out in Oklahoma City, it is really rich with so many events. I can't put them all into this video, so I'm gonna just give you a few, okay? You've got the Red Earth Festival, where it really celebrates like the Native American heritage through the art and the dance. You've also got the Film Center, which is really gonna showcase a lot of the independent films around the world and within Oklahoma City. You've got things like Oktoberfest, Juneteenth, and you've got the Oklahoma State Fair, which is really going to offer a lot of diverse experiences for you that's going to cater to all your interests, whether that be food, cars, horseback riding, entertainment, dance, you name it. So whether you're seeking that charm of that small town festival or the excitement of the big city events, living in Lawton places you at the crossroads really of both of those. But you can't forget about the landscape of Lawton either. You know, Lawton really does have a lot of lakes out here, and you're going to see a lot of variety from like fishing and lakes. Make sure that you even check out a place called Letra. This is like this man-made beach place out there. You might even want to rent a cabin and just hang out with your family on the weekends as well. But if that's not your vibe either, and you just want to do something really chill, like maybe meet some friends, network, or close that deal in the golf course, Lawton has a few golf courses for you as well. You're going to have the Fort Sill Golf Club. You're going to have a golf club in Elgin, which is about 9 holes. But then you also got the Lawton Country Club, which is open to the public and a really cool place to hang out as well. So whether you're grabbing a bite to eat or you just want some entertainment and you want to hang out in Lawton or OKC, sneaking off to Medicine Park or Texas for one of those quiet weekend escapes, the Metro really does give you options. You know, food is diverse, the options are available for activities, and the people, they really are just grounded, hardworking, welcome people. You got the small town charm with just enough reach to enjoy the big city life without having to really sacrifice affordability and peace. What a lot of people experience when they move out here is they notice that they're just not in a rush. But if you have a plan, moving with purpose is gonna benefit you out here. Now let's shift gears, because after the fun on a weekend, while activities matter, you're still gonna need a place to call home, right? So let's pause for a second and talk where people are actually living, and more importantly, how to figure out which part of the Lawton Metro really makes sense for you. Because by now you've heard of the things to do. You know how close you are to the major cities of Oklahoma City and Texas, right? You've heard about the 3 metros in my previous videos of Lawton, Cache, and Elgin. But let's talk about how to decide which city is right for you, because you're probably asking yourself, where do you actually want to live? Because here's what a lot of people get wrong. They choose a neighborhood based on what pops up on Zillow or what a friend told them. Next thing you know, they end up in a house that really doesn't fit their lifestyle, in a neighborhood that they're really not comfortable with, or they're too far from work. Maybe the houses are even outdated for the standards. A lot of these homes might look good on paper, but it doesn't really feel like home. So let's break this down the right way, not just by zip code or by price point, but by your lifestyle. For the families that's really focused on like suburban life, you know, they want that space, they want good schools and a sense of community. Look, if you're planning on raising a family or you just want that classic suburban rhythm, you're gonna wanna look into Lawton, Elgin, and Cache, sure, but let's talk about some of the neighborhoods. Elgin's gonna give you those newer communities, larger lots, and serious schools. A lot of military families and professionals love it because of the space and the peace, even if it means a little bit more drive time. Cache is where you're gonna find more mix of historic charm. You're gonna find some new builds available as well, but it is a tight-knit community, strong sense of pride, good schools, and you're still within reach to Fort Sill and Lawton's core. Lawton's gonna give you some options. You will have more neighborhoods to choose from here, and you're gonna have a different home styles to range from that modern craftsman to even some of those traditional layouts. But if you're looking for those large lots and established homes, if we're in Lawton, you might wanna look into places like East Lake or War Acres. But if you want something a little bit more gated and private, you've got areas, for example, like the Enclave, which is a great subdivision, and it still keeps you close to everything within the city. Bottom line, look, living in Lawton is still gonna feel like you're in the suburbs. You're still gonna have that quick access to the Fort Sill shopping, restaurants, and the schools without feeling like you're tucked away or too far out. Elgin's gonna give you those larger homes, but you gotta remember your trade-off that you are making a drive to Fort Sill if you're military. Cash is going to give you some opportunities for some new builds. Most of the homes are going to be historic. You're going to be away from everything that you need locally, but because the city is so compact, you're still within a 10-15 minute drive to everything that you need. Now let's talk to some of my single people or some of those digital nomads. You know, some of those people that really want the convenience. You want low maintenance. You're not really looking for those big yards, but you still want to live within the area. Maybe you want to be closer to some of those coffee shops, those fitness centers, and those hospitals, and you want to feel like you're within a 5-10 minute drive for the grocery stores and everything you need. If that's you, condos and townhomes might just be the perfect fit for you. Now you're gonna find options only in Lawton, right? You're not gonna find a lot of townhomes and condos in Elgin or Cache. Lawton's gonna have the options for you. Still gonna give you that ownership, but it's really a good setup for people who are like in the military, the healthcare, some of those educational workers who really don't want a long commute or a home that becomes a DIY project. You know, you're not gonna get a ton of the square footage, but what you do get back is ownership and your time, and that really is something that matters for people, and that could be a win for you. And these are good for some of those people who want ownership but don't want to feel isolated, really want to feel connected. But if you're not that condo type, but you're also not trying to live way out in the country, you know, you want that space, that quiet, that safety, and you still want to get to some of the base, the school, and everything that you need, here's your quick short list for ownership. If you're in Lawton, I want you to look at some neighborhoods like Oak Ridge, Rolling Hills, or Shelter Creek, maybe even East Lake. These are going to be some of your quiet, mature neighborhoods that still feel like home. They're really close enough to everything, but peaceful enough to really reset your mind after work. Now, if you want to be on that Lawton Cache border and you want some of those newer homes, I want you to think Deo Landing. It's not a subdivision of 300 homes, but it's really ideal for families and people who just kind of want that balance between community and some calmness. If you decide that maybe that commute is something that you want, I want you to think about Legacy Creek. You know, this is going to be brand new communities with some good values, newer builds, but you're still going to have that quick access to the highway to get to work as well. This is really kind of that sweet spot for people who want peace without isolation. Now, for my investors or maybe my first-time home buyers, you guys are playing in a completely different ball game, right? So this is going to be for you, but I'm also going to include some of the areas that builders might want to look at too as well. So for my investors who really want to lock in that value and let it appreciate over time, let's talk about the areas. For my investors, I really want you guys to think about West Lawton. There's a lot of established neighborhoods. You know, you might find a home under 100,000. It's really going to be good for rent, and it's close to Fort Sill since most of the city is a military town. Now, for my first-time home buyers, if you're thinking about a new build, I want you to think of a builder called D.R. Horton and some other builders out as well. A lot of these homes are builder-backed communities with incentives like closing costs, low interest rates, buy downs, warranties, and they're really great for those buyers who really want a new house without all the maintenance and the upkeep, right? Now, for my builders, if you really want to build something, I'm going to tell you guys to look into Cache or Elgin. Now, Cache or Elgin has larger lots available for you guys, right? Elgin's going to offer you those large lots with wide open field and a scenic view. But if you're looking to buy out there, you should look out there as well. But here's the trade-off. You're going to be about 20 to 25 minutes from Fort Sill. So you're trading proximity for peace, space, and long-term equity, okay? So let's break this down one last time. If you're raising a family and you want quiet streets, strong schools, and you want a space to grow, places like Elgin and Cache are gonna have some pockets for you. If you're a young person or you just wanna own without all the maintenance, then you might wanna look into Lawton for some of those townhomes or some of those condos available for you. But if you're thinking big as a builder and you wanna build something, I'm gonna tell you to look into Cache and to Elgin. But for the first-time home buyers who want those new homes, you're gonna have availability in all three of those areas, but Lawton's gonna have more neighborhoods available for you. Elgin's gonna give you some of those larger homes, a little bit spaced out. Lawton and Cache are gonna give you those newer homes that's still within the community. Because here's the truth, where you live really does shape how you live. It's not just about the house, right? It's really about your rhythm, your style, your peace of mind. And if you pick wrong, just because it looked good online or it felt like a deal, you'll feel it in your day-to-day life real fast. That's why working with the right people on the ground really matters. You know, someone who really does know the neighborhood, the difference between what looks good and what actually feels right for you. So if you're stuck between what type of lifestyle or decision that you really want to start researching, Researching the neighborhood is good for you, but just reach out to us and just know my team and I are always here to help you do that the right way. So if you're serious about moving to the Lawton Fort Sill Metro and just want to stop guessing, let's just have a real conversation about your goals, your lifestyle, and your strategy and what's the best move. We'll help you cut through all the noise, get your clarity, and take your next step with confidence. Call me directly. My information is going to be below and pinned to the top of the chat. Because once you find the right spot, that's when everything starts to fall in place. Now let's hold up real quick. Now, before we start talking about schools, prices, or anything else, let's actually talk about how you're going to get around the city, because here's what nobody tells you about the Lawton Fort Sill Metro. The highway really isn't the main way that people commute around here, right? You're only really going to be using the highway if you're trying to commute to Oklahoma City, Dallas, or somewhere out of town. The truth is, you're probably not really touching I-44 on a regular basis because Lawton moves different. The city is really built around 5 main roads. You're gonna have Rogers Lane, Cash Road, Gore Boulevard, Lee Boulevard, and Quanah Parker Trailway. You know, these are the streets that's really gonna connect you from everything to the Fort Sill gates, to downtown, to the medical centers, restaurants, you name it. So while Google Maps might say it's a 20-minute drive, that's not 20 minutes in traffic like Dallas. It's really gonna be like a 20-minute drive, and that's if you're going from one side of town to the next. Most of your commutes are really gonna be within the 10-minute drive. You're really not battling that bottleneck city congestion. So you can live in Elgin or Cash and still make it to work to Fort Sill on time if you leave 20 minutes before work, because you're not really dealing with all that local city, big city madness. And that's the lifestyle that you're gonna get out here, right? Less traffic, less stress, more time doing what actually matters. Now, real quick, now, if you already live out here in the Fort Sill Metro, I want you to drop your best commute tips or some of your traffic shortcuts in the comments. You know, what roads do you use? What roads do you decide to avoid? What's those secret back roads that really get you to Fort Sill faster than Google Maps? Let's help out the folks who are really relocating here, because the map might show the route, but you really know how the city moves without losing your mind. So go ahead, drop your comments and your local driving tips to our relocator friends in the comments below. All right, now that we've covered lifestyle, neighborhoods, and traffic, let's get down to the big question everybody has once they decide to move here. What can I actually get for my money? Because listen, Lawton, Cash, and Elgin, they're not Dallas, and they're definitely not OKC. But that's the whole point. The value out here, it just hits different. But like any city, it really depends on what you're looking for and what you're willing to trade off. If you're working with a budget from $250 and under, I want to welcome you to the starter homes. You'll be mostly looking at existing homes in Lawton. I want you to think 2-bed, 2-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath. You're going to find homes from either 900 square feet all the way up to about 1,500 square feet. These are going to be some neighborhoods like Crosby Park and older homes. Now, the homes might need a few updates, but many homes have good bones, good yards, and established streets, right? You're not buying a brand new home, but you are getting a really low mortgage payment. And in a few years, you could end up renting that property out and making some profit, and it's still going to be close to all the major things that you need. Now, if you're in between that $250,000 to $325,000, then I want to welcome you to some more options. You're going to be getting some of these newer homes, more space, might even be into an established community with a new phase being developed as well. You know, this is kind of where things open up for you. You know, you're going to be getting homes in West Lawton, East Lawton, Cash, Elgin. You will have those options of new build, and you're going to be finding homes from around 1,300 square feet all the way up to 2,200 square feet. You might find a 3-bed or 4-bed. You're definitely going to have those 2 beds, possibly with a 3-bathroom house. But if you're up in that 300,000 and up, you might even find a house with a flex space or a bonus room. That price point is probably going to land you in one of Rolling Hills, one of the DR Horton neighborhoods, or even an established neighborhood like War Acres. You know, in this price point, here's the thing. You're really going to be getting some move-in ready homes. It might have been a military person who bought the home a few years ago and is PCSing, and now the home is available in some of these sought-out neighborhoods. But you're going to have more options because you're going to be getting some of those modern layouts, often less yard maintenance, and those neighborhoods with some of those established walkable trails, right? You might even see a community lake. Now, let's say your price point has increased and you're between that $320,000 all the way up to that $450,000 price range. You're going to be seeing larger homes, bigger lots, and now we're talking about lifestyle plays, right? This budget is going to get you definitely these 4-bedroom homes. You're going to be finding houses between like 2,200 square feet and up. You're going to be having larger lots, upgraded finishes, and maybe even a 3-car garage. Now, you're going to find this in nicer pockets of Lawton and Elgin. I want you to think Mountain View Villas, Lake Crest, Legacy Creek Estates. Think quiet neighborhoods, kind of like those dog walking neighborhoods, a home that really gives you room to grow and raise a family. Now, this price range really works great for those folks that are really locating from those high cost markets who want more home for the dollar. Maybe a larger lot is something that's really important to you. Elgin's gonna have those options for you. Now, if you're $450,000 and up, you're gonna have not only options, but you also have the ability to get a new build, custom built out here for you. Now that you're moving into that custom build Hill territory. I want you to think Lawton, you're gonna have some areas like Oak Point and Oak Ridge in the Lawton area. But with that price point, you're really gonna be able to have the ability to get those custom homes, high ceilings, even some outdoor kitchens, and all of the possibilities that are out there available for you because the cost of living is so low out here. And honestly, the cost is still gonna be less than some people paying for a 2-bedroom home in California. But here's the trade-off. Lawton is closer to the base. You're gonna have more resale options, lower cost per square foot, but some of the homes might be older, so you want to make sure that you find the right home for you. Cash is going to really give you that small town feel. You're going to have some new home options, strong schools, but you're going to have fewer homes to choose from. Elgin's really going to give you those larger lots, top school district. You're going to have new homes available, but the commute is going to be 20 to 25 minutes away from the Fort Sill base. So the real question isn't what's your budget. It really is, what kind of lifestyle do you want your budget to support? So let's talk about some of the hidden costs that a lot of buyers make whenever they're moving to the Fort Sill area. So look, I've told you about some of the areas, but I want to kind of pull the rug from you a little bit, because just when you think you figured out where to live, we got to talk about the monthly payment and some of the information that some people just don't put on the listing description. You know, I know that house might look great and it seems right on paper. Of course, it might fit your VA loan budget, but here's what they don't tell you, and this is what's waiting behind that front door if you're not looking close enough. Let's talk about the real numbers most folks don't even factor until it's too late. Property taxes. Your property taxes out here are going to be anywhere between 1 and 1.5%. So that might sound decent, right? But that $275,000 home that you thought looks great is now costing you $3,000 a year in taxes. Insurance, Oklahoma is Tornado Alley. Hailstorms aren't if they're coming, it really is when they're coming. So that means your roofing insurance premium might double what you pay in other states. I've seen some quotes on older homes, $2,200 a year, but I've also seen homes out here, brand new home, could be $1,700. So just make sure that you got the right insurance provider to kind of talk about what these hidden costs are that you're not considering when you're looking on Zillow. Now, depending on where you're living, you also got to consider these HOA fees, right? If you're living in a brand new home, most of the time you're going to be paying the HOA fee, and that could be anywhere from $20 all the way up to $50 a month, depending on where you decide to live. So it's not terrible, but it is if you didn't plan for it. And then we got to talk about our utilities, right? Here's the truth. Larger lots mean higher water bills, especially if you're running sprinklers in the summer. Older homes, you're going to be paying for it in your electricity, especially during the summer. Ask me how I know. So yeah, that affordable mortgage on Zillow might look good, but if you don't consider all of these factors, you really don't know what your piece number, your cost of living really is, right? And these are some of the mistakes that buyers trip up on all the time. And let's be honest, the numbers aren't even the biggest trap. It really is the decisions that people make before that set them up to lose. And here's what I've seen so many times. A lot of families will move out here from out of state, right? They get their heart set up on a brand new home. They fall in love with what they saw, but they're not pre-approved yet. By the time they call their lender, somebody already has it under contract. Now they're starting over, they're frustrated, wondering if they even missed their shot. That's not a real estate problem. That's a planning problem. And it is avoidable because listen, for my military people, just because you have a VA loan doesn't mean you don't need a game plan. Yes, 0% down on the house is amazing, right? And not having that PMI is gonna keep your monthly mortgage low. But you also gotta think about earnest money because you have to put something down in order to secure the property. But none of that matters if you're not ready when the right deal comes across the table. So here's how you win. The key is to come in with clarity, not confusion. Make sure that you're pre-approved, not just having some pre-interest, right? It's so much better if you have a plan, not just a Pinterest board of all the things that you want. You actually need to plan ahead of time. So you don't have to know everything. You just really need a guide who's got your back, who's really not afraid to give you the layout of the land and just tell you the truth. But let me shift gears for a second, because this isn't just about interest rates and planning and square footage, right? It really is about something deeper, because the truth is, a house doesn't make you stay, the people do. Because this is real life, it's not just math. Now you can buy a home out here, but it's the neighbors that when you wave by, or the kids next door help you mow your lawn, or that network group that you're a part of, or that fitness program that you're a part of where you're meeting new people, or maybe some of those Chamber of Commerce meetings where you've built a few relationships. That's what really makes this place home for you. So that's something that you need to know about here. What are the people like out here? What you're gonna find out about the city is that it really is a mix, right? You've got active duty military people here, you've got blue collar workers, you've got remote professionals, you've got military people, entrepreneurs, and you even got some of those retired veterans here as well. And you might even run into a few of them at the Target. You know, everybody's from somewhere, but nobody really makes you feel like an outsider. Because the truth is, since everybody's come from somewhere, they know what it's like moving out here for the first time and needing to know how to move around the city and where you should go for fun and entertainment. That's why Lawton has its own vibe and its own rhythm. Yes, it's proud, it's real. Folks here are gonna say, yes, ma'am. They're still gonna hold the door for you. And if your lawnmower breaks, Don't be shocked if that retired military vet comes out, offers you a drink, and helps you while you're at it. And when you know how to navigate not only Lawton, but Oklahoma period, life is gonna stay active for you, right? You're gonna have these high school football events, especially if you got kids on those Friday nights. Saturdays, you're gonna have your downtown farmers market. Elmer Thomas is going to have a few events for you, and Medicine Park is going to be your escape anytime you want to get away from the city. But I think the diversity goes a little bit underrated out here. You know, on one block, you're going to find an Asian restaurant, a Thai bistro, Korean barbecue. You're going to find some soul food barbecue and a Native American restaurant all on the same street. And here's the thing, every city really does have its own pace, you know. Elgin's really gonna feel like that peaceful reset, which everyone knows your name. Cash has that small town grit, that school pride. Lawton's got that military foundation, those food trucks, historic homes, new homes, and every neighborhood has its own pulse. So once you find a neighborhood that really matches your energy, whether it's that calm, quiet community or that active and walking neighborhood, that's when this place really starts to feel like it's yours, like you actually belong here, like you're not just relocating, you're actually a part of something, planting something, and really living in Lawton. So if you're gonna be living out here and you've got some kids, then we gotta talk about schools, right? Because for a lot of people, that's where the decision really gets real. Now, as a licensed professional, I can't really tell you the schools to go to. That's against the fair housing violation. Me as a licensed builder, I can't do that. But what I can do is actually tell you about some of my real clients who actually moved out here and how they made some of the decisions on where they thought the best schools for them and their kids should be. Let's start with Tammy for an example. She relocated here, and what really mattered to her was some stability. Also wanted a neighborhood that was quiet and kind of away from things. So she decided to land in Oak Ridge in West Lawton. This is like a peaceful waterfront area, kind of tucked away from Lawton, inside Lawton, but it's still close to Fort Sill. You know, she told me what really mattered for her was that her kids could come home to an area where they can kind of walk, kind of get away from everything. And they chose Oak Ridge to be the best place. And for the schools, because the city is an open transfer, she decided that the zone public school for that area was going to be the best for her and her kids. Then we got my client Vanessa, right? She moved over here with a young kid. She was really caring about the daycares and some of the facilities that were really going to help take care of her kid while she was at work. But since she worked on base, the proximity was going to be something that she really needed. And she decided that Rolling Hills was going to be the neighborhood for her since there were so many military people in that neighborhood. She felt that she could build a community and people kind of understood what her day-to-day life was going to be. Now, both of these clients did their research on places like niche.com and greatschools.org. I want you to make sure that you go to those websites, but also look into some of these local Facebook mom groups and check with the schools as well and talk to some of the locals to really find out about what you think the best neighborhood and the best schools are going to be for you and your kids. Now, both of those clients were in two completely different price points, right? Tammy wanted to be in the 400,000s and up, so she chose Oak Ridge, but Vanessa was looking for a brand new build. She thought that a place Rolling Hills, $280,000 home and under was going to be the best place for her. I think both of those clients found the best neighborhood for them and their children. Both are walkable neighborhoods, and I'm happy for both of them. But I also have some of those families who are planning for the future. Like take my clients Trent and Giovanni, for example. They don't have any kids right now, but they were really looking in the neighborhood that had not only strong schools, but it was close to the school, but they wanted an area that was really like walkable. Giovanni loves running, so he wanted to find an area that was also beautiful as he had his morning walks. He chose an area in East Lawton, which is in East Lake. They liked the school being so close to MacArthur Park, and they just thought that East Lake was that real strong sense of community, beautiful greenery as well, and it really just hit the checkpoints that really mattered to them. So here's what I tell every family I work with. Look, use those tools like greatschool.org and niche.com, and make sure that you check with the Oklahoma Department of Education. Do things like join the Facebook parent groups, but also verify with some of the people in the neighborhood who live in those schools and get a feel for the school by just talking to the local community yourself. So whether you're after that small town school vibe or those AP courses or something that's going to really prep your kids for career prep, there's going to be an option for you and your family. Because at the end of the day, yes, the house matters, but the people that your kids are around, that's what really makes it home. Now let's talk about work for a minute, you know, because let's be real. Nobody's really just moving here only for the house, right? We're really moving for the opportunity, you're moving for the freedom, but you got to figure out a way to make some money, right? So what is the real opportunity engine out here really looking like? So let's get into it. First off, Fort Sill is the backbone of Lawton. We're talking about one of the largest military installations in the country, right? Thousands of jobs. It's always going to be economic stability, and that's just the beginning. But you've also got some of these places that are some local hubs that a lot of people don't know about. right? You've got Goodyear, you've got Comanche County Memorial Hospital, the Lawton Public Schools, and you've got FISTA, which is like this innovation park, bringing in some tech research and some next generation careers. A lot of people are even remote workers as well, but you can't forget about the professional industry and the education industry. So let's break it down by who's moving here and why. You're gonna have your military families here, right? These are the people that wanna finally use their VA and wanna find a home instead of renting, and wanna find a place where they can actually own that has some land. Instead of spending $300,000 having a condo, you can move out here to Lawton. Spending $300,000 is going to get you a 3, possibly a 4-bedroom house with some land, depending on where you decide to move. You're also going to have some of these remote workers who really want that peace, actually want to live in an area where Wi-Fi is going to work instead of having to spend $3,000 downtown, and have some beautiful mountain views while you're at it. Then you've got your educators and your people who are working in the health space, right? These are going to be some of your professors, your teachers, and some of your nurses that are coming out here to work as well. Lawton is attractive for these people for the same reasons as it's attractive for everyone else, right? You're going to have those short commutes, good pay, and a low cost of living. Now, as far as investors, you're going to have people who either want to start up a small business or start to expand their real estate portfolio. Listen, I'm speaking from my own experience as well. When I first moved to Oklahoma, I decided to start investing in Lawton as well for the same reasons that everyone else wanted. The cost of living was a lot cheaper. The homes were a lot cheaper. I bought my first rental property out here about 3 years ago, and it's doing what I expected it to do, right? We're paying down that mortgage, we're making that passive income from that property, and it's appreciating. And we wanted to expand our portfolio without having to spend so much money per unit per property. We wanted something that was a little bit more affordable, and we started buying properties out here between $50,000 and $100,000, and we're trying to grow that and help you guys as well do the same thing. A lot of my clients are military out here in Lawton, right? So they're using their VA, they're buying that first home, and when they get TDY to somewhere else, they're going to be renting it out. You could be doing the same thing out here because, like I said before, you're not really breaking the bank to own a home out here. And I think that is something that kind of gets overlooked when you're moving out here to Lawton. Expanding your portfolio and trying to build wealth is important for everybody. I'm going to tell everybody that I talk to about that, right? But if you want to build wealth, you don't necessarily have to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. You could be moving to a place like here out in Lawton where properties are way under the national average to buy a home. I've bought homes for $50,000 to $100,000, like I said before. Rental income is strong out here. A lot of people who are military who decide not to use their VA benefits do decide to rent. So there is a demand for rental properties out here as well. And I can go on and on with these stories, right? Look, we just had a person reach out to us from California, and he was looking for the exact same thing. Wanted to buy some properties, wanted to build his rental portfolio. There's a lot of investors out here. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you actually reach out to us. Like I said before, all my information is in the show notes description and pinned to the top of the chat. So the math really does make sense out here in Lawton, right? Here's what makes Lawton so different. You're gonna have that low overhead, right? It's easy access. Nobody's really gatekeeping opportunities, and you're not stuck in traffic for just 90 minutes just to go chase a paycheck. You're really gonna build something, a career, a business, a lifestyle out here. You can do it while you can actually breathe. So the truth is, like I said before, it's not like Dallas. It's not trying to be like Oklahoma City. It's not Vegas. It's not Florida. It's not California, all right? Lawton has its own pace, and that's what you need to know whenever you're moving out here, because you might be expecting the city that never sleeps, and Lawton's just not that. So if you've been watching this long, you know I'm not really gonna sugarcoat anything, and now it's time to talk about some of the weather, because I'm gonna break it down for you, my real opinion, what I really think about this. Look, the truth is, Oklahoma, Lawton does have 4 seasons, but sometimes it's gonna feel like all 4 of those are happening in the same week. So let's break it down for someone who actually lives in it, works in it, and has some stories to prove it, okay? The summers, they're hot. They're not like Texas hot, but they're close. I mean, from June to September, it's like walking through a blow dryer on high heat, but here's the thing. Everything is built for it, right? The AC in the houses are gonna be ice cold. So you're gonna learn real quick, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you shouldn't be outside trying to cut your grass unless you're trying to meet Jesus. Now the winters are really January and February. I'll extend that to March sometimes, but they can surprise you. We're not talking Chicago blizzards, but when the cold air hits and ice gets on the road, it's a wrap. The city basically shuts down. I mean, the schools are gonna close, some businesses might even close. Nobody's really trying to drive unless it's a life or death situation, or you're trying to get that Starbucks coffee that you've been craving for all morning. Now let's have the tornado talk. Yes, we're in Tornado Alley, right? And you are going to hear the sirens, especially during the spring. Around April and May is when you're gonna hear them the most, but honestly, most of the time it's really just gonna bring some heavy winds, some lightning, some thunder, and some rain. So what you really wanna do is just keep that weather app friendly on your phone and you'll be good. Now you're gonna watch the news and it's always gonna tell you there's a tornado warning, but here's the truth. I want you to think more, just pull your trash cans into the garage, not you have to jump into your storm cellar every single time. Now let's talk about the one that I really think doesn't even get talked about at all, is this Oklahoma wind. Look, it is no joke. The wind is going to humble you when you get out here. I've had some of my listing signs get snatched out of the ground from the wind like I owed somebody something. Many times I've walked out to some of the houses that we've had listings on or we already sold and we're taking the signs out, and I can't find it because it's somewhere down the street because the wind has blown it all the way down the street. And these are metal signs. These aren't little plastic things. That's how strong the wind can really get out here. And don't even get me started on my rental properties. The wind was blowing so bad one year, and I think this was about maybe 2 years ago. The wind was blowing so bad that we had 2 storm doors have to get the hinges replaced because when the door was opening, it caught the wind and the wind was so strong. So my advice for you is know, yes, the wind is coming. A lot of times you might even try to open up your door, and if that wind catches it, it might even just fling open the door a little bit too fast. Make sure that you're prepared for the wind. And if you see one of my signs, just pick it up and bring it to the office. But because we got those mountains, here's the part that I don't think people expect. You know, the sunsets, they kind of sit a little bit different out here. You're gonna have those wide open skies. The sun is gonna hit Mount Scott on those mountains and really kind of giving this serene scene. And when you add that beautiful sunset on top of that wildlife refuge when you're out there in Wichita Mountains, it really is something that you might want to take a photo of. So the bottom line is weather is real out here, but it is manageable. If you come prepared, download that weather app, you'll be just fine. Now, before you pack that U-Haul up and turn in those orders or maybe fall in love with the house that you saw online, let me give you the real game plan that will save you time, money, and frustration, okay? So what you really need to know before you're moving out here, it's not just about cost of living or how fast you can get to work. Lawton having its own rhythm, and you've got to make sure that you're choosing the right neighborhood and the right house that's going to fit your actual lifestyle. Are you military? Do you want quick access to the gate? Do you want to be away from all of that? Maybe you have kids and schools is something you consider, or maybe you want that walkable area. It could be anything. Or maybe you're that person that just says, I want to be comfortable. The exact same style of living that I had in another city, I want that here. The city has options, but you need a strategy, not just a wish list. So let's go ahead and talk about what not to do, because I've seen so many folks walk into these traps, right? So here's some of the biggest mistakes that I really see relocators make when they're moving out here. Look, not getting pre-approved early enough is going to make you lose out on deals. Don't wait until you found the right one and then you want to start getting your finances in order, right? So if you need a lender, don't worry, I've got you. I can help you out with that. Make sure that you get some clarity, but you don't want to be behind the 8 ball when you're looking to find a house. Another thing is forgetting the real cost of home ownership. That monthly payment really isn't the whole story, right? You're going to have things like utilities. You need to consider your insurance. And if it's a gated neighborhood or if it's a new community that has HOA fees, those are some things that you want to consider as well. And you can't forget about the taxes as well. Now, depending on the type of house you have, you might have a pool, right? Or maybe a lot of trees, or you don't want to take care of the yard. Pool maintenance and yard maintenance, those are some things that you need to consider when you're buying a home as well. Look, I tell my clients all the time, let's run the real numbers, what your life really costs month to month, and is this the house for you? Now, when it comes to my clients wanting the new builds, let me tell you the truth about the new builders out here. Every builder is not the same, right? If you're military and using that VA loan, yes, you're gonna have that 0 down, and that's great. But all builders aren't the same, and they're not always in the same neighborhood. So you want to make sure that you're choosing the right neighborhood, and you want to make sure that builders have those floor plans available. But if you're looking for a custom build, you've got a little bit more flexibility, and you can actually choose which one of these cities, purchasing the lot. It might take 6 to 12 months for the house to get built after you purchase the lot, but you've got a little bit more flexibility, right? So if you're gonna go with a pre-built home, you gotta make sure that it's in an area that you really wanna live into. Now, most of the builders might have some incentives for you. You know, that might be covering your closing costs or maybe a lower interest rate. But again, you gotta think about what the trade-off is, because if it's in an area that you don't want, maybe it's a little bit further out, are you willing to pay for those incentives and have that low interest rate in exchange for a longer commute? It just really comes down to what's important to you. Now, if you're gonna be renting, please don't lease a house out here without understanding the neighborhood. You know, I've had people move here, they love the price of the renting, they hate the commute, or they fall in love with a home but really realize that it's actually 35 minutes outside of the base in a city where that kind of drive really isn't necessary. So trust me, those people really wish they would have given me a call before. So make sure that you're thinking about not only is this the right price, but is this the right move for my life, because you're gonna feel it in your day-to-day life. So when it comes to picking a home, if you're gonna move smart, it's not just about moving smart, not moving fast. Here's my advice. Don't just chase the aesthetics. And remember, Zillow is probably lying to you. A lot of these homes that you're looking on Zillow, the truth is this is public information, right? So anybody can see a lot of these homes, but builders have homes that aren't not only showing up on Zillow, they're only reaching out to realtors and saying, hey, we've got a few homes off market that you may not know about. But then some of these homes that are also saying they're available, By the time it hits Zillow, it's already been pending. Trust me, I've had many clients try to do that and reach out and say, hey, what about this home? By the time I'm calling the realtor, the house has already been under contract and they're expected to close. Most of the time, Zillow is lying to you. What it will do is show you what some of the homes that are available, what they look like, but it's not gonna show you every single home. So when you're moving, really think about your everyday life, you know, getting groceries, base access, schools, work, play, how far you wanna drive, whether you wanna hang out in Oklahoma City or Dallas. Those are some questions that you really want to ask yourself. But you can't forget about the neighborhood and the lifestyle, right? Is this the type of neighborhood that I'm happy with? Is this the type of neighborhood that I can live in, invite my family over, have enough space and fun? You know, do I need a flex space? Do I need a designated office? Or do I need a movie room? Do I need a movie theater? Do I really need a movie theater? You know, a smart move just isn't about where you sleep, but it's also about how you're gonna live. So if you're planning to relocate, don't do it alone. My team and I do this every day. We know the builders, the zonings, and some of the areas. You know, we can connect you with lenders and insurance pros and kind of get you a breakdown of those utility estimates that the stuff from Zillow is just not gonna tell you. So just make sure that you reach out before you roll out. So if you've been watching this long, you're probably serious about making a move. And let me tell you this, I totally understand where you're coming from. When I relocated, these are some of the things that I wish someone told me before I moved that I just had to figure out on my own, honestly. Maybe you're getting your orders to Fort Hill or relocating the business, or maybe you're just trying to expand the portfolio and just want a better quality of life for your family. Maybe a slower pace is what you're looking for. And the truth is, I've helped many people just like you. So if you're up late night and you're stalking these listings, really trying to make sense of all this area, I just want you to breathe, okay? I got you. I want to give you that real estate blueprint that's really going to fit you before you start to pack a single box. And if you're still in research mode, then I put a playlist together right here for you, kind of walking you through all the lifestyle, the cost of living, and some of the neighborhoods that you need to know. Make sure you check those videos out right here.